what's up? Welcome to the Queen's Comic Podcast. I'm Billy Bombs.
I'm Ian.
And on this episode, we're going to talk about some indie books that we picked up, we like to call underground comics. I think Ian racked up a lot.
Yeah, it's a weird mix of stuff. There's actually one big two book in here that we'll get to, but
very nice.
Yeah, we're going to start with our underground of the week because when we did our Kirby episode, we didn't do it. So sorry, Newt. It's always for Newt. The underground is always.
Newt, we love you. Sorry.
So we're going to start with Snarf number 3 from Kitchen Sink. The copyright date on this is 1972. The coolest thing about this book right away is the Will Eisner cover.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, and it's the Spirit and Commissioner Dolan busting into an underground comics publisher where the basement is flooded, people are, working in like horrible working conditions, smoking joints, spelling things wrong. There's a guy in the corner saying, "After Crumb, what is there left to say?"
That's funny.
And so, yeah, it's the Spirit and Dolan busting up like an underground comics ring, which is kind of funny. You open it up, it's not as good. There's some good stuff in here, don't get me wrong, but it's not as good as the cover. Bucky Wright, Boy Radical. I don't know this story at all. Like,
I don't think some of these are oddballs.
Yeah, there's a lot of oddball stuff. I like the oddball stuff, but I don't know, like, if there was a continuing story with Bucky Wright or if this is a one and done. It is kind of funny because, like, they kind of show how Bucky Wright turned from, a rich, snooty, yuppie type guy into a hippie. That's so funny. It kind of fits with the theme of the book. The art is by Poplawski, and I do like the art, but the story is just kind of so-so.
Oh my god, I think I just read a book from Poplawski the other day.
Could be. He's around. He's definitely around. I do like his style.
He's the guy from Now Comics later on in the 90s.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, okay. Because I was about to complain that looks like a bunch of crappy Now Comics. And then I realized it's the guy.
And then there's a little one-pager called Dead Letter, which is just a bird working in a post office, going through people's mail, taking out the pornography and keeping it.
Oh my god, that reminds me of so many people that work as moderators for like these random goth sites, like VampireFreaks.com would tell me those stories.
I have not spent as much time on VampireFreaks.com as you, apparently.
I am too old for that website, but when it was big, he told me, he's like, all I do is moderate and crap.
Next story, Tom Christopher's Adventures of the Omnipotent Dwarf. And, it's I don't know. I don't even really know what's happening. It's just a guy going around harassing people, getting into trouble with cops. Keep going through there. And then Ramshackle and Slumlord Realty is a series of just like sketches that Dennis Kitchen did, like little short, almost Sunday strip styles. They're about a couple of guys who are, screwing around with the real estate market, intentionally banging up people's houses and making them look bad so that, they can get rent in there and then raise the rent on people and stuff. It's pretty funny. There's a lot of social commentary with it. Kitchen's art style is really clean. It's nice and cartoony in all the right ways. I liked those. And then there's a Mad Cow strip. Mad Cow popped up in a couple issues of Snarf. It's wacky sexual hijinks involving a cow. More Dead Letter stuff with the bird postman messing around people's mail. Kind of funny. This one's a longer one. It's like 4 pages long. And then towards the end, there's Lenny and Phil. Doesn't say who did Lenny and Phil. I don't know who did Lenny and Phil. Anyway, it's a weird story about a couple and some of the sexual hijinks that they get into. Towards the end, there's In the Clutches of Amon Ra, dog blood drinking cult. And it kind of continues after where the Lenny and Phil stuff left off, where the large-sized woman is getting a little dominant with the man with the mustache and the funny hair. And then she has him tied and bound to a board, takes off all their clothes, and then tries to turn him into a blood sacrifice to a cult. So it has a pretty funny twist ending. And then towards the end, there's like some parody stuff like where they make fun of like Mary Worth comics and things like that, where we get more Poplawski art, more Dennis Kitchen art, which again, I like both their styles. So, overall, not the best episode or best issue of Snarf I've ever read. There's cooler ones than this out there, but the cover, it's worth it for the cover alone.
It most definitely is.
Moving right along, a pickup from Push Pull Comics and Godzillion Comics at the last Queen's Comic Party in Brooklyn. This is New York City's Outlaws number 3. By Ken Landgraf. Ken Landgraf is a New Yorker. He is the man. I gave you the first issue of this. You still haven't read it, have you?
No. I'm so behind on everything.
You got to read it. Just like opening it up, the first ad is for a hair metal band called Battalion, which looks amazing. They make Poison look masculine.
That's hilarious. I like the Warriors theme opening.
So that's why you would dig this comic, because it's basically the Warriors.
Nice.
It really is basically the Warriors. It's about like crazy gang warfare and stuff. It's got a lot more ninjas in it. The Warriors didn't have any ninjas, which was maybe its one flaw.
From the Warriors or from the book?
From the Warriors.
Then it's more of a Ninja Turtles mix in there.
Yeah, so this is 84, so Ninja Turtles weren't influencing this. But
no, wasn't it the same year, 84?
Maybe, but I don't think Ninja Turtles would have been big enough to influence this. Miller's Daredevil probably was, though. But, I mean, it's if you look at these characters, it's warriors. They're the warriors.
It's warriors, but it meets the hand.
Kind of.
Frank Miller.
Yeah, kind of. And Landgraf's
but the artwork is crisp.
It's really cool. Landgraf's got like a kind of a heavy line.
Mm-hmm.
The detail isn't like it's there, but it's not like super fine detail like Mike Kaluta or something like that. It's thicker, a lot more heavy inks and a lot of black inks. This is a black and white comic, and ninjas versus gangs, which is pretty cool stuff. And then so that's the first story. Flip through the second story. There's a backup called Apocalypse 5000, which was recently compiled and reissued by Power Comics. I want to say last year. And it's a post-nuke story. So you can see, the bomb has dropped. There's the mushroom clouds. This woman's skin's all melting off. And, of course, chaos erupts in Times Square. And it sort of goes
the same artist?
Yeah, this is all Ken Landgraf.
But look at his backgrounds on this.
It's good.
Great.
Yeah, it's good. His art is really cool. It's very distinct.
Yes.
And then, the real reason anybody wants to own this book is in the very last pages, there is an ad for Thor. And it's not the Marvel Thor. It's Jon Mikl Thor, the Canadian heavy metal superhero, who's a friend of mine and a hero of mine. I've loved since I was a kid. So
I love the documentary about him.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
It's amazing. Cool. Story by Jon Mikl and Rusty Hamilton. Art by Ken Landgraf. Concept created by Jon Mikl. Rock Warrior. Copyright 1986. Thunder Productions. Of course it's Thunder Productions because it's Thor. This is very dramatic, like just one-page ad. And then on the flip, the last page, there's one page from this comic. Now, to the best of my knowledge, this comic never came out.
No, I don't think so. But
I want with all my life for this comic to come out. So I don't know, maybe Power Comics could make it happen since they seem to have the Ken Landgraf connection going on. And there's also an ad for Vicon #1, which I believe did come out. And Vicon kind of looks like Thor. I don't know. You know what? We got to have Thor on the podcast.
That's what I was about to say right now.
Let's get Thor on this podcast. We could do it. We could definitely do it. All right, up next, Renegade Press Manimal #1. So I picked this up thinking it was maybe related to the short-lived TV show of the same name, where a guy could kind of turn into an animal and solve crime. It didn't last very long.
Okay.
It might be a little before your time. It's not. It's not related to that at all. It actually collects some stories that were published in Hot Stuff, which was a fantasy anthology magazine from the 70s. All of the artwork is by Ernie Colin. It's really nice art. Channeling a little Neil Adams there.
His faces are amazing.
Yeah, the artwork is fantastic. And this was a book I paid 50 cents for, so I was like totally stoked to get it, even if I bought it thinking it was something else. The story is basically a guy who has the powers of an animal is going after Nazis to get revenge. I'm always down with killing Nazis. And the commandant of the Nazis murdered his family, so he's after them to get revenge for that. But yeah, beautiful art. The cover is not so great, but like the interior art's really solid. Like I said, a big Neil Adams influence there. There's an anti-Nazi afterlog text piece, and then in the back, in the next issue of Static. So it's got an ad for Steve Ditko's Static, which Renegade did publish at least 1 or 2 issues of. I have one.
Nice.
So some of Ditko's like creator-owned stuff. And so that's just kind of a neat way. 80s indie Ditko is a weird rabbit hole to fall down. He did some strange stuff during this period. Renegade put it out.
We definitely got to talk about a book I just discovered from Ditko.
Okay.
But after we're done about Manimal. Look at the back cover.
Yeah, the back cover is fantastic. It has the man in beast mode, like, approaching a Nazi officer who's wielding a gun from behind. So you know that the Nazi's in trouble.
What a sick artwork.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't know if I know Ernie Colin's art from anything else.
No, me neither.
Might have confused him with Gene Colan here and there.
That's what I thought at first, too.
You could kind of see a bit of crossover in their styles. I don't know. Are they related?
It might be.
I'm gonna have to do a deep dive on Manimal and Ernie Colin.
First guy ever said that. You mentioned Steve Ditko with his work.
Right.
I didn't know he had a character called Mr. A.
Yes.
Never heard of that. And it turns out that it's like what he would have wrote for the question.
Uh-huh.
But when they came out with, I learned this from the Steve Ditko documentary, when they came out with Watchmen, he didn't base Watchmen on Rorschach on the question. He based him on Mr. A.
Kind of the same character.
That's what I thought, but
right.
I guess his harshness or the more brutality comes from there. So it's a British documentary about Steve Ditko.
I've seen it on YouTube. Yeah, I've seen it where they find him at the end.
He goes with Neil Gaiman. He goes with Lovely Man. He said no, though.
Right. Yeah, that's a great documentary. But yeah, so the Mr. A stuff kind of reflects Ditko's politics, which are a little right.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Mr. A sees everything as black and white. There's like everything is either good or evil. There isn't really like a gray area in between where, morality or intent get questioned. It's either right or wrong, and he acts on that. And oddly enough, it's funny that you mentioned that because when I was in Royal Collectibles last week, I noticed they had the first issue of Mr. A in the store.
How much?
Yeah, I think it was $50.
Oh, that's not bad. Online, it's like $40. I want it.
Yeah.
But
It's magazine sized.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm still waiting for my World War III Illustrated to come from Royal. They sent it out a year ago now, March.
It's probably gone.
No. They sent it out. It's a 290-day turnaround.
Okay.
And that's before the pandemic.
Why? Was it just like a self-published thing?
No,
or?
World War III Illustrated by Sefta Backman.
Right. Yeah, you gave me an issue of it.
Mm-hmm. And it just needs to just come back as grade. And it turns out somebody has a grade.
Oh, you sent it off to get graded through Royal.
Yeah,
okay, all right. You left that part out. I was confused.
I'm sorry. I thought I said that.
No, I thought you meant like you bought it from them like mail order or something, which makes no sense because they're 10 minutes away.
Yeah, I can walk there faster and they'll come. They came. No. They sent it out. They said it's the longest turnaround is Hovey's magazine.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't care about magazines at CGC.
No, they really. Well, they have apparently recently improved the slab though.
Oh, that's good.
Because I heard some horror stories about like magazine-sized slabs like breaking very easily, and so maybe you'll get lucky and have one of the better slabs.
I'm hoping I'm the only graded one out there, and it came back as a 9.
Speaking of CGC stuff, I don't buy a lot of slab books, but going back to New York City Outlaws, I picked up issue 2 in a 9.4 and issue 4 in a 9.6 for $10.50 each.
Oh my god, the slab alone is
so
like
$10. I own the highest graded copy of New York City Outlaws number 4 in the world.
But it's cool to have that stuff to just grade. I only got it graded because I just want to say that I'm the one.
Right.
Because who's doing these magazines?
Oh, I'm not judging anybody who grades their books. I understand it.
I'm judging all of them. Do you even read them?
Yeah, but it's funny because like when I bought them, I said to my wife, I'm like, I might pop these out so I can read them.
Of course.
Because that's what I want, is I want to read them. And then I found issue number 4 for cheap at the last Brooklyn show. So, nice. Karma.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
But here's a book that's not super rare, but what you got with it is super rare.
So it's, Peach Momoko's Demon Days Cursed Web number 1. The version I got was the Midtown Comics exclusive variant, and it's signed by Peach with a certificate of authenticity. They had a half price sale a couple of weeks ago, and so I thought, well, $7 for Midtown exclusive with Peach's signature on the front. I can do that. I like her work. It doesn't always connect with me, but I think what she's been doing in the Demon Days series has been pretty cool. Bringing like Japanese yokai mythology into the X-Men world and just sort of putting her own cultural spin on it. It's intriguing. It's different. I think her artwork is beautiful. That's about all I have to say for it. It's light on dialogue, which is, I don't know, probably intentional. It's all about the visuals. It's more violent than you might expect it to be. She takes it into some pretty dark places. So it's not a book that is for younger kids. It's, maybe a PG-13 if it were a movie. So a little stronger, but it's just really nice to look at. That's about all I have to say about it, is it's really nice to look at.
Don't worry, I got a lot of filler for this one.
Go for it.
I'm a big fan of her art, but I can take it in doses. Her independent stuff, that it's her stuff written in her style, perfect.
Yeah.
I don't see her doing an X-Men book regularly, but I do see her doing her own stuff, and she's so talented to do it. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, she wanted to be a tattoo artist first, but chose comic books over that. New York Comic Con, I might have spoken about this in early episodes, was a zoo with her.
Yes, it was insane.
Yeah, and it became to the point when I understand like what she had to go through. Like English is not her first language, but I think her husband or partner had to translate everything, and even he was almost brawling with people because they were all trying to get in a fight to be online for her before the show opened.
There was a huge line. A lot of dealers and flipper types who had early access got in line because she was signing for free with no limit.
Yes.
So you could get as many books as you wanted, and she was doing sketches for like $50 or something like that, which is dirt cheap.
She thought it was for fans.
Right, and she meant it to be for fans and wanted it to be for fans, and there were scalpers taking advantage of it, and she basically had a panic attack and hid under her table because a fist fight almost broke out, from what I understand.
I walked in right after, but I ran into the guys running the security part. They didn't know what to do, and I was like, "Oh, you guys need a hand?" Because we deal with this in Queen's Comic Party. And people get into fights over books, and I'm like, "No problem. I'm used to tough guys."
It takes guts to party in Queens.
Yeah, right? But it's only once in a while. Everybody else is sweet, but like there's always one or two jerks. Midtown, did a great job with her next day showing, being like, oh, if there's anybody you got a problem with, let us know.
Right.
They will not be coming up.
Right.
And nothing happened. They kept it orderly. They had all their workers in there, keep everybody in line, and no fights, no nothing.
Good.
So thank God for that, because you don't want to scare off a new artist that she'll never return.
Right. I know. I did see on her social media channels that she does want to come back.
Of course.
But if she does, then NYCC has the obligation to do proper crowd control. And to be fair to Repop and the guys who organized that show, I'm sure they didn't see that coming. Like, I don't think anybody anticipated how popular she was going to be at that show.
I deal with the guys from Repop a lot for other stuff. They did not know her specifics for her table.
Okay.
Because she had a table set up for these certain hours, but they didn't know it was going to be specifically like $50 sketches. They were like, if we knew, we would have just had they would set it up like the same as Kevin Eastman's table is with the line, with somebody cutting off the line.
Right.
But they would not let the line start to a certain time like they do with Kevin Eastman. Because Kevin Eastman's time starts at a certain time you can line up. Hers was not set up like that because they were like, oh, she's new. She's going to be at the front near Comixology, near Simon Bisley, who could probably kick somebody's ass with no problem.
Oh, was Bisley there last year?
He was right across.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. This is my impersonation of him. Oh, man, metal, man. That's it. I didn't understand a fucking word he said. He was a hugger and a kisser almost. He's like, oh, man, big fan. I was like, yeah. We were talking about metal real quick and left. Great guy. Took a photo with him. He was sweet as hell.
Is he as big and huge as everyone says? Yeah.
Huge.
He's a bodybuilder, isn't he?
I couldn't tell you. I just didn't want to get smacked by him.
Right.
But you could totally tell he's into bull thrower. Like, this is a guy who looks like he dresses up as Warhammer to go to the store. You know what I mean? Great guy. Great guy.
So he's exactly what you would expect him to be based on his art.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo. Like, and then when you meet Peter Momoko, you can totally expect too, from her art style, what kind of person and how she is. Right. Sweet, great, loving of fans. I hope they hire us to do security for her stuff, or they just set it up like the Eastman stuff. Because they learned from Eastman from years how crazy some of those fanatics are for flipping. Yeah. And that's why sometimes if you get something from Eastman and put your name on it, he gives you a giant signature. Right. A giant setup and a sketch. He's like, enjoy. Because he knows he loves you and you love his work. Right. I met him on the show floor. We were buying... one of the guys with me bought the first Spider-Man Ultimate Fallout 4. This kid from Texas. What's up, Josh?
The First Miles.
First Miles Morales, Ultimate Fallout 4 book. And Eastman came up behind us. He's like, oh, you're Kevin Eastman. I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, you're such a great guy talking crap about comics, and then kept walking. You know, but that's how New York Comic Con is. Big city, small world. Yep. But you with flipping, it's like, doesn't matter. People are just wild. The poor woman had to see the worst of the people. You know what I mean? Right. Hopefully, her next experience is going to be way better. And Repop already knows this is the flippers who did this. These are the tables who did this. And CGC, if you got a problem, we already know we don't really need you here. Right. You know, you can set up at a hotel like everybody else does. It was
her first trip to America, and she got to see the very worst of capitalism.
Yeah. Yo, understatement on that one. Perfect description. Yeah. But here, we'll jump to the next book. We always jump around. What's this one?
Okay, so I picked this up at Royal Collectibles when I was there last week, and it is Go Nagi's Devilman #1. Nice. From Verotik, Glenn Danzig's super classy, awesome publishing house.
You gave me a Verotik book last week. I still have to flip through. It's in my pile downstairs. Yeah. All right. It's a Jaguar God.
Oh, yeah, I did. I gave you Jaguar God.
I was like, I got to read this because it's so great.
So this is from June 1995. It is the foil cover variant that I did not know existed until I saw it. I don't normally care about foil variants.
But it's Glenn Danzig.
Glenn Danzig only published it. He didn't write this one. But for whatever reason, this one really works in the foil for me. It's Devilman's face kind of in the rain. And it's all red. It's red. I don't know. It's red.
How do you say no to that?
Have you ever read Devilman?
No, but it looks very anime.
Yeah, it's a manga. It's a manga.
Yeah, okay,
it's I believe, originally published in black and white in either the early 80s or late 70s.
Was it a book that Danzig liked that he wanted to publish in America? Yes. I love that. Yep. That's awesome.
Yep. So, it introduces us to Akira, who is the Devilman, and as he walks through the moonlit night, he turns into the Devilman. He's just kind of the Devil Man.
Is this the basis of that Great White Zombie song?
Yeah, probably.
Supercharger Heaven?
Probably. Anyway, so he turns into Devilman. He possesses the power of a demon, but he has a human heart. And he decides to use his powers for good and protect mankind. Fights a giant worm. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't. He fights a giant worm. The giant worm blows up, and then the room starts spinning, and he goes back in time where he ends up at a cafe in Germany where some people are speaking German, which makes sense because it's Germany, talking about a painting. And this one artist wants to sell his work, and there's somebody who wants to buy his work. There's the dealer who's getting a little dishonest with the painter. Well, you can kind of see where this is going.
Yeah, I totally do.
And yeah, it turns out that the painter is Adolf Hitler, and the dealer who's been managing him is Jewish. And when he gets screwed over, Hitler all of a sudden hates the Jews.
Wow.
And so it's the most bizarre Hitler origin story you could possibly imagine.
In Devilman.
In Devilman.
And the worst part is, every time you described another scene in that book,
mm-hmm.
just reminds me of another Rob Zombie song. Like the worm and fighting the worm, and then him just different parts of it remind me of different songs.
It's very likely that Rob Zombie was super influenced by this. I don't know, but if you look at the last page, like there he is with the full-on stupid mustache and
that's
everything.
his artwork. That
No, that's Coop.
Coop?
And there's an ad for Lords of
God.
Acid with Coop's Devil Girls getting down.
Well, that's the artwork that Rob Zombie used for a lot of stuff, is that Coop style.
I have a Coop tattoo on my chest.
No joke.
Yeah, and speaking of Simon Bisley in the back, we get a Verotik house ad. Heroes come and heroes go, but demons are forever, with some Bisley art, and then a Satanica ad. And then some Verotica mail order with a lot of nudity and weird molded figures, and an ad for the Frazetta book that they put out in the back.
We still need that Frazetta Tashkent book.
Yeah.
I need that shit.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Devilman. This was your first exposure to Devilman?
First Devilman.
Well, there is
other than Supercharger Heaven.
There's an old school anime series out, and then I was talking to sometimes Mike at the show last week, and he said that there's a newer Devilman out there. I think it's on Netflix, that he said is worth checking out, because Mike was actually wearing a Devilman shirt.
Oh, I believe it. Mike's into some wild stuff. We should get him on the show one day.
We should. Yeah. Whatever happened to that guy?
He's like laughing at home. He's like,
yeah, probably.
Real quick before we jump into this one, because this is going to jump back into I want to talk about. But back with the Rob Zombie, do you follow any Gary Panther stuff?
I don't know Gary Panther.
Do you know a guy named Charles Burns?
Yes.
All right, behind you, book under F, it has this foil. The coils. Do you have this? Facetasm.
No, I've never seen this before.
All right, it's a mix of Charles Burns artwork with Gary Panther of Pee-wee's Playhouse /
this is weird.
Jimbo's Jimbo's Journey.
Uh-huh.
It's that one where he goes through hell. It's somewhere in here. It's because the room is kind of moved in. It just reminded me of it because we were talking about Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie worked with him on the show as a producer on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
So this is like a spiral-bound book. Each page is 3 pieces, and you can move them within the other pages. And so you can mix and match facial parts.
Mm-hmm.
What a strange idea.
Yeah, but so Charles Burns.
Charles Burns is fantastic.
And the fact that he collaborated with such a brilliant mind like Gary Panther.
So not specifically a comic, but definitely something that comic book fans would probably be into.
And you recognize some of the characters on there.
Yes. Numbered 324 out of 1,000.
Yeah. One of my favorite finds
92.
Ever. Mm-hmm.
Where did you find this?
Dude, I buy a lot of weird stuff at Strands and weird bookstores. If it has anything in there, I grab it. You're a huge fan of underground comics.
Mm-hmm.
One of our friends, we have a bookstore we're friends with called Better Read Than Dead, and Better READ. And they run a lot of bookstores, but they always call us, hey, we got an underground collection if you want to come look at. So you're more than welcome at the next one.
Yep.
They got me my American Splendor books. It's from them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're sweet. They're sweet. My regular job is I'm a super, so we do a lot of cleanouts. They're the guys I call for getting rid of the books because they're like, I know we'll need this. I know what bookstore needs this.
Nice.
But next up is a book that I definitely know, but I did not know they were together. Is Deadman and Challengers of the Unknown, which in our Kirby episodes we talk about. But Deadman, I think of Neil Adams when I think of Deadman.
Yep. And this does have Neil Adams art, story by Denny O'Neil.
The 2 geniuses, man. 2 great guys.
Yep. It's from 1970, so it's old. But yeah, I pulled this out of the dollar bin at the Queens Comic Party show, the one in Queens.
Oh, nice.
About a month and a half ago. Simply because I saw the cover and I was like, Neil Adams cover for sure. I didn't know he did the interior. And so
he loves Deadman.
The art was by Neil Adams and George Tuska. So if you look at the first page, that's Neil Adams doing Deadman right there. Mm. But that's George Tuska doing the other panels.
That explains why it doesn't look like it fits.
Right. So if you flip through it, the bulk of the art is George Tuska, which looks nothing like Neil Adams. It's still cool. It looks a little Ditko-y in spots. Mm-hmm.
And look at the faces on some.
Yeah, exactly. And the bulk of the story is George Tuska. But then as you get through towards the end, there's one more page with Deadman on it that is Neil Adams. So that's it, 2 pages. So Neil Adams did 2 pages plus half of the first page, so 2.5 pages in this story.
Nice.
And as you go through it, I'm sorry, there's more. I thought it was over.
Anything with Deadman, it looks like.
Yeah, so Neil Adams does the second third of the book, basically. But then in the back, there is a little single page by Bernie Wrightson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bro, talk about knowing it all. Come on, bro.
Dark as Death. Just a little single page strip. I had no idea it was in there. Obviously, as a Wrightson nerd, I was very, very stoked. I had never seen that before. Oh, so that was $1 well spent.
Bro, you must have had that wahoo moment. When
I did, yeah. I was not going to lie. I was reading on the can.
Yeah.
And I was flipping through it, and I'm like, holy shit, Wrightson. And my wife was kind of like,
somebody
what's
give
going
me
on
a baggy board. Somebody give me a baggy board.
Exactly.
We got Mylar. We have Mylar.
And then the last book that I brought was Vampire Macabre #1. This is the Nosferatu special from Asylum Press. This is signed by writer Frank Forte because it was a Kickstarter edition. The reason I bought this on Kickstarter, not being especially familiar with Asylum Press, was because Tim Vigil did the cover and one of the stories in it. And nice. Tim Vigil doesn't do a lot of work. So to get some new Vigil work, it was like $5 or $6 or something like that. To get a nice signed copy of it, I was pretty happy with that.
I love Kickstarter books.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some of them are real corny, but Asylum Press putting them out is not bad. Like, you can tell it's quality from them.
Yeah.
They do some fun stuff.
They did a nice job. Frank Forte's his stories are fun. They're kind of like old school, like Hammer-influenced vampire stuff with some lesbianism in it and some gore. So he knows his audience. The first story has art by somebody named Mora Mike. Not familiar with Mora Mike's work, but after reading this, I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. Again, I see like a Neil Adams influence in the faces there and stuff.
I like the Salem's Lot Vampire.
Yeah, the Salem's Lot Vampire is very cool. The old Nosferatu kind of, well, it's a female Nosferatu. I guess you still call them Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And, an old school look to it that I really liked. The story flows well. There's 3 stories in here. The Nosferatu female vampire gets very dominant with a man who has kind of come to, like, check out her stuff. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. I mean, like, he's, like, inspecting, like, her collection, her art and stuff. The second story is called Zephyra, which Forte wrote again. The art is by Edu Mena. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not. And it's about a vampire hunter with a pretty badass car. And it's like a Mad Max type thing. Pretty fun. The weakest of the 3, but still pretty fun. I enjoyed it. And then the third story is the Vigil story. It is unfortunately the shortest of them, but the detail in the art is fantastic. It's good work. It's called The Crypt. Vigil wrote the story. Forte did the script, and then Vigil did the art. It literally takes place in a crypt, which is why it's called a crypt. It's just kind of a little bit of dialogue between a cat and a vampire who has been resurrected. But I mean, I don't know if you ever read Vigil's Gothic Knights.
No.
So that was a 2-issue series that he did back in the 90s after, like, in between Faust books. That was kind of like his tribute to Wrightson. And it's like the level of artwork that Wrightson did on his Illustrated Frankenstein book. This is Vigil trying to match it.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing. I'll bring it for one of the next episodes. It's hands down his best work. It's astonishing. This doesn't go quite that level of detail, but it's in the same vein of that.
It's a quick Kickstarter book, so I imagine that people can't put too much effort into it because you're trying to get the end product, the trade, be more stuff.
Yeah, the back
is killer.
This was done as a single issue, and I believe there's a standard version out there.
I love these stickers and masks.
Yeah, the back is an ad for Frankenhorrors stickers and enamel pin sets created by Frank Forte. So, frankenhorrors.com if you want some pins, Billy.
Dude, I will. Don't tempt me.
What do you got?
All right, I got literally 2 different artists, but like spectrum-wise, it's wild. What are you looking at? Volume 1 of the Collected Angry Youth comics by Johnny Ryan, which I don't know how this guy's allowed in this country for his artwork. You know what I mean? Because they're wild. They're like the most perverted shit I've ever seen in my life. Have you seen any Johnny Ryan books?
Don't know this book.
Any fans out there of odd books? He's famous for a book called Prison Planet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or Prison Pit, I think, is it? Prison Planet or Prison Pit. It's disgusting. The artwork is disgusting, but people keep
very lowbrow, yeah.
Holy smokes, is it lowbrow. And you're just like, wow, how is this so popular? But that's what people love. And they pick up a lot of stuff from it.
I mean, there's a market for crass. There's definitely a market for crass, and this is going, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. It's some of it is the most vile books I've ever read in my life.
A lot of dick chopping going on here.
Yeah, and like you're like, who would collect this? And you're like, a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big fan of like comics being put out, no matter what it is. But holy smokes, is this guy nuts?
Yeah, he goes for it.
Yeah, most definitely. To go from that to somebody who I think is really talented. Sorry, you're gonna hear some tape opening because I forgot to pull it out while we were setting up. is one of our new artists at the show that this past weekend was a guy named Cinco. What a talented artist. Yo, Ian is still stuck looking at how wild some of this crap is. Nuts, huh?
So, you want to know something cool that you didn't notice about this Johnny Ryan, What Are You Looking At book?
Yeah. What's up?
So that back portrait?
Yeah.
Ken Landgraf.
No joke. What a small world.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
There's a bio page for Johnny Ryan in the back of this book. And the portrait is of a big cut guy wearing some heavy wristbands, wailing on a guitar. And it was portrait by Ken Landgraf, who did the New York City Outlaws book we just talked about.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Landgraf's the man. He gets around.
Yeah, 20 years apart, right?
At least.
Yeah, because this is from the 2006, I think.
Yeah, so 22 years apart.
Damn.
Landgraf's local. We got to get him to a show.
Why not? If
I'll reach out to him.
Let's reach out.
Yeah.
I got no problem hooking up artists with tables that are fun, and he seems to be fun, and like we're kind of an outlaw promotion, so it fits with us.
Yep.
But next up is Ian Cinco, who's our new artist. He had a book called Neon Springs that he was releasing, and I had to get it. Like I was like, please give me that book. I love the artwork. There's a lot of nudity in it too, which I didn't realize too. But it's like robots and here digital men. Here, take a look.
Yeah.
Because like I really got hooked on him because of his prints. I saw a print he did of like of the main character of this story, wearing like in front of a city center with a giant gun, and I was like, I must own this. He was like, I'll bring it.
His artwork is killer. It's like a mix between like Paul Pope and sexy Akira.
Yeah, most definitely.
When he was at the show, I went up and talked to him because Scott asked me to go say hi because they know each other, and I did. I went over and talked to him. He was a nice guy, and we started chatting and stuff, and I had every intention of picking this book up from him, and got distracted and forgot to. So hopefully he's at the next show.
I'm hoping he keeps coming back because he's doing a lot of traveling.
Mm-hmm.
But then he came out with something over here that I really could not believe, and then he was like, "Oh, I want to do a sketch for you on the inside." He has a book called. This is a big book.
That's like a telephone book.
Yeah, it's $25, but it's worth triple that. It's called Ian Cinco's Erratica, and it's called Volume 1 Shift of Essence, and it's a huge telephone book of comic art.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah, and then he was like, oh, I'm going to do a sketch. And he does a huge sketch of one of his characters and says, yeah, I'll read it out to you. So hopefully he doesn't get mad that I read out the stuff, but I love it. Billy, thank you for the support. Looking forward to more QCP's Queen's Comic Party. Wishing the best of luck, all your endeavors. Peace, love, and prosperity. Cinco. This man is a genius. Check out this art. And it's all his sketches and sketches of people and a lot of different stuff in there, and I love it. I got hooked on him because he just reached out and was like, oh, I'd like to do a local show.
This is a watercolor.
Yeah, he worked on this for a while.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we took a photo together, and it was just excellent. He's a great guy. He's everything you like about art. Because you could tell, like, he doesn't take himself too seriously, but he takes the work seriously.
Right.
Which is the most important, is really lacking in comics. It's really lacking. Like, people are really worried about the image, but not worried about the images they give you. This guy really loves art.
I need this.
Yeah, you must own it.
Yeah.
I'm going to text him and be like, yo, please, let me get another one of those for Ian from the show. And where we tell him we're on the show.
I want Neon Spring, too.
Oh, he has the whole set. I got to get the rest.
Oh, there's more than one issue?
There's 5 of them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, my only problem is I'm a trade paperback guy, so it's hard for me to get single issues. But I was like, let me get it.
I saw the different issues he had at the show, and I thought they were variant covers.
No, I thought so too. And I was like, wait, I love comics. I love whenever we have people that like really love their craft. He gave me a cool sticker that's going to be on our new shop table.
Nice.
Yeah. The new table we're getting is going to be covered in stickers from our friends, family, and everybody we work with. Whaley does another show. And the guy, you know what it is? The cool part is when you get a young artist that they try new stuff. Mm-hmm. At the next show, I'm asking him to bring paintings and put it around his display because he has plenty of room over there to I'll drill some screws in and just hook them all up. I'll be safer than that for all your art fiends, but I love stuff like that.
This book is wild. I did not see this on this table. I must have missed it.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, yo, I gotta own this because I love big books, and I cannot lie.
I was literally just about to say that, so I'm so glad that opportunity did not go to waste.
Anything big, anything sketched out, and the price is perfect, $25.
More than reasonable.
Yeah, and then he hooks up with a sketch.
Yeah.
You could tell this guy, you know what it is? I love styles like this where you could tell it's pure love. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a big James Stokey fan.
Yeah.
And when I read Wonton Soup, or was it Wonton? The one that they tried. I just put it on the wall. Wonton Soup. And you can tell he did it because he loves the art.
Right.
But he did it about a subject matter that's different than anybody else. He did it as Iron Chef universe.
Right, yeah. We talked about his stuff a couple episodes ago because I know him from Orphan and from Aliens.
Yeah. That's the thing. We talked about Aliens in the last episode. I really want them to do more work with guys like him who really appreciate the work.
The stuff that Marvel's doing right now, it's fine. Like, it looks good. The art's good.
It's
I'm not going to knock
enough.
it. But put somebody whose style stands out on the book.
Yeah.
Like some of the best Alien stuff, right? Think about it. Sam Keith, who did Earth War.
Yes.
Now, people pissed all over that when it came out. I remember buying that off the rack as a kid and people not liking it because it was so different than the Mark Nelson series that had come before it. Mm-hmm. But I liked it. I always liked Sam Keith's art, and I liked it. And then after that, they did what's his name? Denny Villeneuve, something like that. And he did like an airbrushed version. I know I butchered that name.
We'll do an Aliens episode so you don't have to stress it because I love Aliens.
All right.
I fucking love Aliens.
Did you read the Corbin one?
No.
Yeah, there's a 3-issue Corbin one, and it's fantastic.
Oh, man, come on, bro. This is killing me. It came out this week, the Epic Collection. Uh-huh. I'm literally waiting to get paid so I can go to Royal and buy it.
It might be in, I mean, this is Epic Collection Volume 2, isn't it?
Volume 1.
Oh, it's Volume 1.
It might be in Volume 2 or something like that, but it's the
it was
original
later.
Marvel.
The Stoko stuff and the Corbin stuff was later.
It doesn't matter. I need them all.
Yeah.
I need them all. When they come out, I try and get them. One of our sponsors that has a huge collection of that stuff, Action City, always gets Aliens books. And in Brooklyn, they go nuts for that.
Really?
In Greenpoint, Aliens is big. He was
Greenpoint is the Aliens district, I guess.
So. Yeah, that's District 9 right there. They loved it. And he's like, I can't hold on to any of this stuff. I do the Dark Horse Presents. I'm trying to finish that run. Uh-huh. Aliens books are always the hardest because that's the most fan-loved.
Issue 24.
Is that the blue one?
That's the blue one, yeah.
I got 13 of them. One guy just got it from a storage unit.
I was like, 13 of them? Well,
he's got like 13. I don't need it. He's bringing me one. Do you need one? I'll get it for you.
All right.
Because it's amazing how, like, it's a large print run.
Right.
But people were, like, hoarding them because it's Alien.
Well, and people thought that was the first Aliens appearance. It's not. It's Aliens #1 came out before that story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and before that, there is a heavy metal adaptation of the first Alien movie that Walt Simonson drew.
Dude, that's even cool. And I love Walt Simonson.
Yeah.
That's why we're going to New Jersey.
You should get that.
I will. But like I said, my big thing is trade paperbacks.
Right.
I have to own it all, but I don't need it to be the original. I just want to have it.
You just want the story.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Like Freak Brothers.
Yeah.
I love it to death, but I want the trades.
Right.
American Splendor. I want all the trades. Just now, my entire life, I've never seen an American Splendor book till I got one in person, other than the trade or the movie. And I'm like, and you realize people love this stuff.
I have one of the magazine-sized ones, and then
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I have one of those that I found at a flea market. I bought it because there was crumb work in it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't familiar with it. I was just like, oh, crumb, I'll buy it because it was like $1 or something like that. And then I have, it might have been Snarf. It might be an issue of Snarf.
I didn't know.
Kitchen Sink Press that has a Harvey Pekar story in it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But you see, like, when we jump back and forth with the history of comics a lot, but that's because we consider people like Ian Cinco the next generation of great artists.
The guy's super talented.
And then Scott, who did, I can't pronounce his last name.
Scott Rule.
Oh, because I always try to pronounce the G. Scott Rule, that's another guy. Next generation of books keeping
people doing stuff that's different.
Azarit, the guy with the Space Riders.
Yes, and you got to see Matt Allison's Cinco. I brought this up on a few episodes. I'm going to bring the hardcover for the next one.
Well, send me a link to order it.
All right,
let me get one. Bro, it doesn't matter what it is. If I can get every independent comic book, I will.
Yeah.
But I want to get it as like a collection to check out. That's why I have Johnny Ryan, even though I don't think it's good. But I do appreciate that it's out.
It looks like kind of like if Peter Bagg went off the deep end.
Yeah, and the funny part is I love Peter Bagg.
Yeah.
Like, like Peter Bagg, like, what is it? Buddy Buys a Dump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How do you say no to that stuff? Like, and I call it crap because people don't want it, but I'm like, it's excellent.
Right.
What's an odd book that, like, you might have picked up that you haven't read yet? That's on your collection? And
I got like a long box stuff that I haven't read yet. Just because there's been a bunch of shows lately.
But you know what it is? I look around the room that I haven't reached that stuff. Like, my book has been Razzle from Jeff Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And I read his Bone books. I love it.
Bone is a masterpiece.
Totally is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Razzle, I have a personal reason for not reading it because the guy who suggested it to me, we had a falling out that he passed away. Mm. So it's my finishing book in my life of collections. The artwork's not that great, but I heard the story's great.
Okay.
And the thing is, though, sometimes you see artists have great stories. That's a great artwork. But then you have guys who have amazing artwork that don't have stories.
My stepson got me the Hellboy Library Edition Volume 5 for Christmas. I haven't gotten to that one yet. And it's not that I don't want to read it. It's just, it's there. And I'm going to get to it as soon as I can. But swamped. I've got so much to read right now that I'm trying to finish the Dingbat Love book that we talked about last episode. I'm trying to finish the Book of Weirdo, which is this ridiculously comprehensive book that just documents the history of Crumb's Weirdo magazine.
Oh, nice.
And it's so dense. It's an oversized book in a really small font with tons of sidebars, and they interview everybody. They interview his neighbors. Like, they interview anybody who ever touched that book or was like in contact with Crumb during that period of his life. And it's fascinating, and I'm enjoying every page of it. But I got it for Christmas, and I still haven't finished it yet, 3 months later.
Well, it doesn't sound like an easy read, too.
It's not an easy read. It's totally worthwhile, but it's not something you're going to sit down and finish in a couple of settings. Like, you need to take your time with it. And the cool thing about it is you can do that because it's broken up into a lot of small chapters.
I love that. I love that with books, especially if it's a history or something. Did you ever finish reading Hellboy all together? Like, with the Golden Arm? Oh, my God. I'm not going to lie to you. It bothers me that Hellboy keeps coming out with new books, even though I'm a big Mike Mignola fan. I love his work.
Right.
But they wrote a complete story.
Yeah.
Hellboy in Hell was amazing.
I'll get to it.
You know, when you're done, we'll do a couple episodes just on Hellboy. I have a tattoo. I have a half sleeve of Hellboy. I love Hellboy. I relate to that character a lot. I relate to a guy being pushed into stuff having to do, even though the only way to describe Hellboy, all right, you look like a demon, but you want to be a guy who smokes a cigar and just has a beer and relax, and you just wish you could be normal, but you can't because you're thrust into it. You're thrust into greatness. Sometimes people have that in them, and you must do it because that's life. You have a calling that you don't even realize it, but you really want to be normal. Yep. And that's how I feel about Hellboy. When you finish it, we're going to go on a deep dive on it. Okay. I love Hellboy. I like the newer books, too. They're like period pieces, like Hellboy 1954. Yeah. I love shit like that, or Hellboy in the BPRD. Mm-hmm. But as a story, if they never came out with another Hellboy story ever again, those 6 volumes of Hellboy, or is it 7? Is it 1 through 6?
I think it's 6. Yeah.
And the last one is Hellboy and Hell. It's right behind me. I should look. Oh, it's behind me. It's in the deep end.
Yeah, it's 6.
It's 6, yeah, because the last one is Hellboy and Hell.
Yeah. Or is it 7? I can't.
No, it's 7. Hellboy and Hell. 6 big books because they're all oversized, and those are a great story. And the fact that they're coming out with a Hellboy horror movie now, right, based on Richard Corbin's work. Yep. The Crooked Man, right? The Crooked Man.
Yeah, it's such a good story.
You read that one, right?
Yeah, I have that one.
But before we're done with indie books, there is one that's a little bit controversial that we wanted to talk about. And it's controversial because we didn't realize it was controversial. And it's Don Rosa's The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. And it's one of my favorite books. Like, one of the issues was, like, banned because of a lot of racism. But the funny part is you could find the single issue for a decent price, but you can't find the trade paperbacks, or they won't produce it anymore, which is totally respectable and why. But I think if you reproduce the book with that one cut out, it would still not ruin the story.
I haven't read it.
Oh, you never read Life and Times?
No, I haven't read Life and Times.
Oh, man.
So I know the issue you're talking about. It's Uncle Scrooge 295. It's a Gladstone book. All right, I'm pulling up Key Collector here, and I'm just going to read from what they said when they reported on it. In 2023, Disney banned this issue from future reprints and collections due to the depiction of characters Bombi the Zombie and Fula Zula. The company sent this email to Don Rosa as part of its ongoing commitment to diversity and inclusion. The Walt Disney Company is in the process of reviewing their library of stories. As a result, some stories that do not align with their values will no longer be published. This applies to 2 of your classic stories, The Richest Duck in the World and The Dream of a Lifetime. These stories will not be part of any reprints or new collections. The story is part of the Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck story arc that is sought after by many Disney comic fans. An earlier version of cover art was published in Germany in the title Onkel Dagobert, which I guess is Uncle Scrooge in German. Mm-hmm. The earliest publication of the story appeared in Donald Duck and Company number 16, which was published in Norway in April of 94, because a lot of Rosa's stuff appeared in Europe before it was published here.
It's still not popular in America as it is popular in Amsterdam, Norway, and other places like that.
Right. And so I guess to get to the point of it not being reprinted and why, it's because it does play around with some racial stereotypes that are going to make people uncomfortable.
100%. And you could cut that out. But the funny part is these books were not big in America during that time. Mm-hmm. In the 90s, they were big in Europe. And you know what? Since we are changing up a lot of stuff, take it out. But at least read the other stories that are part of Don Rosa's collection.
Well, and those stories will be reprinted.
Yes.
It's not that Don Rosa's been canceled or anything like that. His art will still be out there, and I'd imagine he remains fairly popular. I think he's the best duck artist of all time.
The best writer.
No apologies to Carl Barks. I'm sorry. Rosa did it better. Come at me. But
And the Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, when you read it, it's a really good Tales of an Immigrant tale. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love it. I being an immigrant. So I get it.
Hey, I'm an immigrant too.
Oh, yeah. And like him coming from Europe to here and just making his own success. Mm-hmm. So if you do find the trade, enjoy it for yourself. To me, it's sort of like there's some books out there that have come out, reprinted, that are one-shot deals. If you get them, grab it, hold on to it. Enjoy. And I think that's pretty much it for us with indie stuff.
Yeah, I got more thoughts on the Don Rosa thing. So
let's go.
So, yeah, you said you could cut it out and still enjoy the story, right?
I think so, because, like, there's some parts that you could skip out. You could always do an excerpt blurb to explain what happened, but you could be honest with the collector.
That's what I think is a better idea. And I understand why Disney made the decision that they did, but at the same time, the art should be presented as it was originally created, and putting a blurb in front of it, like you say, like a disclaimer saying represents antiquated views or something like that, like they do with the old Looney Tunes cartoons or the old Popeye cartoons. If you watch those, a lot of times there's just a disclaimer up there saying, these represent antiquated views. They're being presented as they are because that's how they were made. So, like, it's a fine line between not wanting to offend people and just kind of erasing history. And I don't know what side of that I fall on, because certainly people shouldn't be offended by racial stereotypes, especially in a Disney book, right? Like, that's the wrong place for something like that. And I don't think Don Rosa had any ill intention whatsoever when he made it. But Disney, being 100% family-friendly with everything that they do, they're coming at this from a business perspective. They don't want controversy. So I don't know what the right decision there is. I would prefer it be kept the way it is with a disclaimer, because I don't like, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
Well, let's see how they do it over time.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll keep it, they won't. But let's see if they ever reprint it, because they might as well choose not to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And maybe nothing will sell. People only want the originals.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Maybe I'm very lucky that I picked it up at the time. I wanted to read it. It was always in the top 5 of trade paperbacks to read. From even Vice News put it out as being like, you have to read it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I picked it up. I enjoyed it.
It's a Fantagraphics book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you go to the Fantagraphics website, you can't get it anymore. But I don't think that it's because Disney pulled the plug or anything like that. I think it just went out of print. And that happens.
But it always went out of print with Fantagraphics.
Right.
They drive me wild with books, because I'm still waiting to finish Spain.
Mm-hmm.
There's supposedly 2 more Spain Rodriguez books. Yep. It's supposed to be it spells out his name Spain.
Yep.
I only have SPA. I need N to come out already.
Oh, they're not out yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I do love some of their work.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have My Favorite Monsters. My favorite thing is Monsters.
Oh, I've read that. That's the
Emil Ferris. It looks
like
it's
a great
done
book.
on sketchbook paper.
Yeah,
I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fantagraphics puts out great stuff, but sometimes like Love and Rockets. I would like
a huge box set that just came out.
I don't want the box set. I want to collect the little ones I have over there. I want to finish it, or they're behind that painting.
Okay.
I want that in that same digest size one, but super thick. Give me a chronological order when they're coming out.
I want the box set because it's in chronological order, but it's also $500 or something like that.
I like the little ones because I read them, and I'm a big fan of the Hernandez brothers.
Uh-huh.
But I want to know what else is missing. What else do I need? You know. What's a book you're waiting for? Is there anything in particular you want to come out, indie or anything?
James Tynion's World Tree is coming out in a couple of weeks, and I'm excited
about
that. I don't know if it was a Substack book or not. They did a preview in the Image Anthology, number 8, that came out a couple of months ago, and I didn't pick it up, but I get his newsletter, and he's been kind of hyping it on his social media channels and stuff, and it looks like kind of a very cool sort of twisted horror cyberpunk thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That guy's brilliant.
He's a good writer.
Yeah. I see a lot of people give him harassment online, but that's because hate makes money for some of these people.
Did you read The Closet?
Not yet.
You should.
I still haven't read House on the Lake.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Volume 2 just started. Action City was telling me about it. I was like, I'll check it out.
Yeah, you'd like it.
Yeah. Nice.
The Closet's really good, too. It's a story about, a married couple that's having trouble, and they move to the West Coast from the East Coast, bring their little boy along with them, and the boy keeps seeing monsters in the closet. Okay. And I won't say anything more than that.
All right, I'll check it out.
There's a lot of metaphor there for relationship trouble and possible abuse within the family and stuff like that. Oh, wow. And it gets much deeper than you might think. It's on the surface, it's a simple monster story, but if you don't have to scratch too deep to get more out of it than that.
Oh, nice. Great writer.
Mm-hmm.
What else am I thinking of? Comic-wise, I'm waiting for more old stuff from the 90s to get reprinted. Like Milestone just finally came out with Volume 2 of the Compendium. and let me see if they need another one. I would like to finish that set.
Yeah.
And get the 90s kind of closed out a bit.
Right.
And then let's see the 2000s have so much good indie stuff that's come out. Like we've done so many cleanouts on people's comics collections or even floods that you see all this indie stuff that came out in the 2000s that people were just printing out themselves. And I'm dying to see if that ever can come out. If you're a listener and you're a comic artist from back then or even now, keep doing what you're doing and put it out.
Yep.
Put it out. We all want to see it. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. It needs to be seen. Your work has a place in all of comics. As long as, like some of the gatekeepers don't need to be in there.
And we want to know about it.
Yeah. No, but I mean like some of these like bully guys who put out terrible comics. But there's people in the early 2000s who just put out work.
Mm-hmm.
Early 2010s put out work.
There's people still not doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Put it out. Let us check it out. Send us a message on QCP. We'll put you on here.
Yep.
Either podcast or the party. We'll talk about it. One guy sent me his book to review. I haven't had a chance because I had to do it on my phone. I can't wait to read it because I know the guy put effort into it. It's like being in a band. Writing a song is hard.
Yeah.
It's where you got to stop and go. But putting stuff pen to paper is even harder.
It is. It's tough being creative.
Hell yeah. That's why I do a podcast and I don't draw nothing.
Are we done?
I think so. I think we're like, we're high note in the most annoying thing in the world I ever hear. The chef's kiss on art. I'm Billy Bums.
I'm Ian. We'll talk later.
See you, buddy.